view on what he thinks that he is going to do with the fund. Maybe we can ask these questions, but I don't see even when fund managers are called for interview, they are not asked this question. Nobody asks them, how do you propose to invest the fresh money that is coming to you? Some of it could go to meet redemptions and some of it could go into the same portfolio.
See, I think at this point it is the onus of all stakeholders, including us, to tell the investor something more clarificatory or something more explicit than mutual fund sahi hai. It should be mutual fund kaise sahi hai. How is it right? Because you are going at the scheme level and trying to tell a person this is right. It's not no more a recommendation made at the product level or asset class level. You are saying this scheme is good. That is how the investor is coming into the scheme. And when you are telling an investor this scheme is good, you have to tell him how many others are thinking this scheme is good, how much money is coming into this scheme also.
So maybe an analyst could make this report, but I don't.
He doesn't have access to data. I am willing to make it, but there is no data.
Yeah, the fund house itself has the data. The fund house is not giving that data, but fund house has the data saying
If this data come out, who should take?
SEBI can give it. No, what is the problem? The AMFI stroke SEBI. The regulator, when he is giving this, he can give the breakup. It should not be a problem.
Let the SRO give it. Why should it be the regulator's responsibility?
Yeah, I mean, but unless the regulator asks, the SRO is not going to give it. So first of all, there is no SRO. AMFI is not an SRO. So there is no, unless you ask AMFI to give, that asking has to be done by SEBI. So, but there is one problem here. The job of the investor is to manage his risk, manage his portfolio and decide what to buy. The industry has no business that I will not take money in small cap.
I agree, but disclosure should be higher. I am not asking the industry not to take.
But many people think that is the industry's job. It is not the industry's job. It is the job of the MFD, or it is the job of the RIA, and it is the job of the investor. So I think when a person comes and says, put my money in mid and small cap, he or she is saying, I'm 86 years old, I've got a net worth of 30 crores, this money is going to my grandchildren, I know what I'm doing, therefore I'm putting in mid and small cap fund. Maybe that is what she's saying loudly. Who are we to say where she should put, in the sense from a regulator point of view?
No, if you're a distributor, you have to just tell him these are the risks and execute. That is the spirit of regulation on that for MFD. So you have to only follow that. You can't give him unsolicited advice.
Correct. So
the spirit of regulation.
Correct. So who is going to tell the investor, even if he's a DIY, that this is a risk? That is for websites, and maybe the SEBI website, maybe the AMFI website should all say these are the risks which are involved. I think that enough data is there. So somebody who is investing says, I know small cap is risky, but I am doing a 10-year SIP. 3 years later, he may lose his job, market may be down, all that can happen. But right now, he's saying, I'm doing a 10-year SIP in a small cap fund. It's very difficult to tell him that even then that is risky. He'll say, "Theek hai."
I feel disclosing this, not only the composition of the SIP book, category wise and product wise, also disclosing the flows, actual flows every month into each scheme. Should tell investors whether it is the velocity of the funds that is impacting NAV, velocity and deployment, or it is appreciation. Sometimes you give a 20,000 crore fund 2,000 crore in a month and he is struggling to deploy and he just buys all the shares at whatever price they are. That itself could bump up the NAV. And if you are seeing 3 months of such flows, then you know that in 3 months this person has done it. So if you are seeing 3 monthly performance, you have a fair opportunity to think that this is not because the companies have done something extraordinary. This is because the fund manager is under pressure to invest. And his investing itself is showing the return, because many people don't know where the returns are coming from. And I don't want to say only this stakeholder doesn't know. I don't want to say a distributor doesn't know, or RIA doesn't know, or investor doesn't know. A lot of people don't know across categories. And my sense is a lot of people need to know.
No, I do think you can incorporate in the fact sheet saying out of this 20,000 crores, how much is the money invested and how much is the appreciation. That also people should know. Is it just money coming in and therefore is AUM is growing, or money is not coming in but is AUM is growing because the companies are appreciating? That breakup if you can give, you can know which is the better fund. So is this fund a better manager or is he a better fundraiser? That you will know when this detail is also available, because somebody will pick up and say this fund has actually got 21% return, this fund has got 22% return, but you know this has got less money, this has got more money, and therefore his AUM is up 30%, his AUM is up only 24%.
I noticed that a friend of mine was managing a better portfolio, was showing lesser return than another person who was managing a mediocre portfolio. Then when I had this conversation, he said that I'm having outflows of so many 100 crores every month. So instead of buying, I am selling shares. That is further depressing prices of some shares. So the NAV looks like it is not doing well. Whereas the other guy is getting 500, 800 crores. He is continuously buying. So he is easily able to bump up the prices. So it looks like he is outperforming me. So this whole relative outperformance, he explained, is a function of flows. So what we did, we took a heat map of both the funds. And we saw that the companies where he is putting in more money also showed a bump up in price, and the companies where the other guy is taking out showed a reduction in price. So I had a heat map for quantity and price, and the two things tallied basically. But this is not something we can go in the public domain and talk about any fund, because then the fund manager will try to think that we are against them, or we are resenting their success, or some other investor could think that we are explaining the failure of somebody else, which may not be our job, right? But it should be a disclosure so that the judgment is available and no one is given an opportunity to color such judgments from people like us. Because if we say, it can be misinterpreted. Anything we say can easily be misinterpreted, because we have no interest in any particular product or against any particular product. Our interest is how can the investor be given a better experience, how can he be given a safer investment journey, and how can he be given the legitimate investor protection which our charter of regulation.
No, there is another problem. You know, earlier it used to happen, they would just compare ELSs across. So, and HDFC Mutual Fund ELSs, Templeton Mutual Fund ELSs, say Invesco ELSs, let's say 4 or 5 ELSs. One could be large cap, one could be mid cap, one could be multi cap, but they would all be compared as ELSs. So, today, even if you take an equity savings fund or a multi asset fund, they are not strictly comparable. So one fund invests 30% in foreign equity, it's much riskier than a fund which is not putting in foreign equity but putting only 35% in Indian equity and then putting into debt and arbitrage and gold. So these two funds are very different. So knowing which two funds to compare, that itself is a skill. You cannot say, oh, that equity savings fund is giving me better return. Maybe it has more equity.
Do you think the industry's exposure today is adequate to allow that investor make this judgment? Does the investor have a fair opportunity to judge?
See, the problem is the RIA or the investor have to take this decision. The MFD is not supposed to be in a position to take this decision. So, I don't know whether enough
No, but if
data
the
points,
disclosure is made in the fact sheet,
then
and
they
an
should.
MFD is well within his rights to point it out, right? Then it doesn't become his judgment.
No, there is one more thing. Some multi-asset funds are treated as current income. So whatever appreciation will get added to your income. Some are equity taxation and some are that old debt taxation where you get 20% tax with indexation. I think that method of taxation should also be there in the fact sheet, because I am just
Because the
told
categories become so big.
categories become so big, and in every fact sheet I want to know that this is a multi-asset fund, this gets treated as debt taxation, this gets treated as equity taxation, because over a longer period, say 5-6 years, debt taxation becomes more attractive because of the indexation. It's better than equity taxation. So first of all, that people should know, but after that, if this is not known, There are some multi-asset funds which are FOF. There the total income gets added to your income,
Oh God.
which is worse. So in multi-asset you have all the three types of taxation. This also needs to be improved in the disclosure. It's not that the industry is trying to hide it, but it is not being disclosed
No,
openly.
I don't think the industry wants to hide anything, because the moment you ask them to give this data, it will be out. So I
It is
don't think they are
available.
trying
It is
to.
available, but not on
I
the
won't.
fact sheet.
I won't color the lack of clarity in this,
Yeah.
but I definitely feel that there is merit in giving this clarity, because see, we are becoming bigger and bigger. The
Correct.
bigger you become,
Correct.
the higher the clarity which you need to give, and the
Correct.
greater the clarity, the better quality investor is going to come to you.
Correct. And
So
the
you are going to improve the whole stability of this. I said in the beginning of this conversation that you have a counter force to selling
correct.
or buying, both,
Correct. And
and it is independent of a operating business like insurance.
true.
It's not going to be constrained by that.
Correct.
So since it is an independent thing, the investment manager can go to his customers and say, "Now I want to buy. Give me money. The FIs are selling. If I buy, I'll be able to buy all these great companies at good valuation."
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
And it's a straightforward conversation, can happen over a 4 o'clock Zoom call with thousands of people,
Correct.
and people can respond by the next morning,
Correct.
and the counterforce would be very, very robust.
Correct.
And people would have had an opportunity to democratically engage with the
No,
manager.
typically people like you can do a video on how to read a fact sheet, because lot of details are there on the fact sheet. Standard deviation. This standard deviation for 1 month or 3 months or 1 year people don't.
I'll take you up on
So
that. We'll
so
do that.
every piece has to be explained. There you can say this is the method of taxation. There are many methods of taxation. So people have to also understand what to see. Typically they say, oh, fact sheet has come, they just delete.
Correct.
They should also read. It is in their interest that they read the fact sheet and then they understand and then they invest. Because the greatest thing for the regulator is an investor who understands what he is doing.
Okay. Fair
It
enough.
means less work and less frauds, less worry for the regulator. Forget for the industry. Of course, it's good for the industry, it's good for the regulator also.
Let's continue this mutual funds unplugged conversation. There are many, many interesting points that I want to discuss with you, which I feel could take us to a better place as an industry, as stakeholders in the industry, and as a society. Because when we have so much success, it is our duty to build on it, so
And
that we get
protect.
more success for the investor
And protect,
and
because
protect the
you don't
investor.
want investors to lose money.
Yeah.
Yes, markets can go down, he will lose money, that's okay, but you should not lose money because of investing mistakes.
Bad choices, lack
Bad
of
choice, mistakes.
transparency.
Oh, I didn't know this was a method of taxation. This is sad. Such things should not happen. So
So let's keep this conversation going.
okay,
And thank you so much, Subra.
thank you.